Hi everyone, welcome back to The Grind. This month we are starting a new series where we are looking at different water situations in the Bible. We're calling this series Something in the Water.
There was another in the water.
And so this week Pastor Ken is speaking about the crossing of the Red Sea, which I'm sure all of us here can be quite familiar with.
You know what's in the water there?
What?
Egyptians.
Oh wow, you're not wrong, sir. But yeah, thank you. Besides Egyptians, I think there were just other substantial truths that we can get from these water stories. So anyways, I'm still hung up on that image of Egyptians in the water.
Just floating in the water.
Just
Wow.
Are they though?
I mean, if you ever seen Exodus, Gods and Kings, they did that really well.
Or the Prince of Egypt, where it was just
Yeah.
that's the ghostly voices of the Egyptians singing.
Anyway,
So we're talking about the Red Sea crossing, and the Israelites found themselves in a probably near impossible situation. Like, we have to get across, Egyptians are coming at us. How do we get through? And then God parts the water, and then boom, all is sorted. So some of the things that Pastor Ken was mentioning is like, what do you do when you face a significant crisis? Like, do you succumb to the problem? Do you choose to look to God and trust in Him? And I think it's so easy to say to look to God and trust in Him. And that's the whole idea for this message, is to look to God and trust in Him, because He has the way out. So that's how we can find our way out. So Pastor Ken shared about like, okay, why look to God? He's in control. Or He knows our situation. He knows which way is best. He is faithful. And He's always present with us. He cares for us. So these are just some of the key points that he brought up during his message, that these are just some of the reasons why we can look to God and trust in Him to find a way out. But before we really go deeper into that, has there been a situation in your life where you faced a Red Sea situation, a difficult situation? Not necessarily like, wanting to part like Victoria Harbor and walk across.
that would make getting home a lot easier.
Actually, I've always thought that maybe I could swim across, but
You'll do the Bruce Almighty thing.
but it's just gonna be a lot of trash in that water. It's not a clean place. One Red Sea situation.
Mine's very Asian.
Oh, yeah?
I really had to chase up a lot of grades because I was not doing well at university.
Oh.
Yeah. And then I had to face either passing or flunking out.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think something similar for me as well. I had really good grades.
I don't think we're not that type of Asian, are we now?
definitely not.
Definitely not. But yeah, I think those were because that one basically is whether you're gonna be having a better future or not. Well, my future, which is now the present, is a good one. So I'm happy.
It all worked out.
Yes. So yeah.
Nice. Well, besides the whole grades thing, because that's just one of I don't want to. That's a repressed memory of mine. I don't want to bring up about grades and stuff. I think a difficult situation was again my own fault. I fell for a scam. My bank was telling me, "Oh, you need to update your username and your password." And I was like, "Okay." Click the link, and the link looked a bit
Dodgy.
sus. Yeah, a bit dodgy. But I was like, I should be okay. Then the moment I updated my details, I was like, I have a feeling this is not right. I immediately checked my bank account, and this was in the States, mind you. And so all my money be gone. And the scammer withdrew about 8,000 US.
Whoa!
from the
Whoa,
account.
that's
So I was a bit of what do I do here? So I obviously being like by myself in the States and no idea what to do, and a bank account of an overdrawn 8,000 US and fees to pay. I don't know what to do. And long story short, everything got sorted out. And but I definitely was panicking because I was like, I don't have money for food, I don't have money for anything, I don't have money for rent. If the money doesn't come back, like how am I gonna live for 4 months?
Did you have to pay for it?
Thankfully, no. Everything was refunded back to me because everything, they realized that it was fraud, that I was duped. blah blah blah. I mean, even actually when I called the bank, the first thing it says like, we do not send emails to ask you to update your passwords and your username. I was like, only I called before I updated. Anyways, that was a very difficult situation. I panicked, I stressed out, but all is well. Definitely was not fun. That was quite a difficult situation. So yeah, that was my Red Sea, and that was really stressful.
So because your account was in the red?
Haha, yeah, my account was in the red. That's why it was a Red Sea situation. Wow, Nathan with the jokes today.
You're welcome.
Yes.
So in Exodus chapter 13 verses 17 to chapter 14 verses 31, we see that God is in control of all things. So I mean, when you read like the story of the Red Sea, like what are some things that show you that God is in control?
Well, God had been leading them the entire time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know how he was like a pillar of smoke or a pillar of fire, right? That pillar was always in front of them.
Yeah.
It was never watching them from the rear, letting them go their own way. But because he was always leading them in the direction that they needed to go, and they were just following, I mean, that just shows you that God was deciding everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And so when faced with Egyptians or the Red Sea, of course he was going to have a way out. It's just the way out that no one had ever thought of.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And I think if I put it if I apply it in my personal life as well, you know, one thing that I always thought of, especially during this story, is that why would the Israelites still be in a panic mode, or like they're still freaking out? But the fact that they already see there's a pillar guiding them, and they know that it's from God. And then in some way the Lord kind of spoke to me as well, that there are cases in my life that He has shown Himself to me, but then I'm still like in a panic mode and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, Lord, I'm sorry. So yeah, I need to really put my trust in You even more. So yeah.
He's going, am I a joke to you?
Exactly.
What more do I need to do?
Yeah.
It's so easy on the outside to judge, right? I mean, we can say this and be like, oh, how could the Israelites not know? And like kind of like, there's a pillar of fire. But I mean, I imagine myself right there, right? If I'm surrounded by, again, because fear is contagious. So if you're surrounded by people who are fearful, and even though you're like have your stuff together, like you are probably also going to lose it too. Because you're surrounded by so many people like, oh my goodness, the Egyptians are coming, and especially like, oh my goodness, the Egyptians are coming, right? And I wouldn't necessarily think that these Israelites had like a very, very personal encounter with the Lord. I mean, yes, they saw the God, like, you know, they saw God come in and like save them from the place and everything, you know, but like, I think if I was there, I would also lose it too. So I totally get why they would lose it. And even though, yes, I seen the pillar of cloud in front of me, and, you know, I think it's just so many overwhelming factors. I can't really fault the Israelites for be like, why didn't you have your stuff together? You know, because I understand it's huge, right? And then there's the whole like, you know, response versus react, because you know, sometimes when you react, you know, then it's like, oh snap, my reaction is not good.
And then you're not thinking logically.
And then you start, you know, acting just like in a weird, like a really not the best way. But then if you take time to respond, then you realize, okay, this is how I should react, respond to the situation, and so on and so forth. So I think, it's easy to get caught up in chaos when you're with people chaos. And then it's basically God is in control. We've seen that. Then we talked about the same passage that shows us God's faithfulness to His people and to His promises. Because He promised to deliver the Israelites from His people, and He did through the form of Moses. So, you know, we see basically the nature and character of God, right? Pillar of fire, pillar of cloud, and you know, throughout this we see, and also again in the message, you know, Pastor Ken talked about pretty much the nature and character of God. Now, is there any part of anything that He shared that stuck out to you that has encouraged you during your time of struggle?
If I were to look at it in the story, one thing I would take up from it is the fact that every single thing that they've shown God in a physical form is that He is a pillar. So Him being that pillar, meaning like a foundation.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's just like you just
Yeah.
have to put your trust in him, knowing that
Yeah.
he is your support. Like he would be with you in any circumstance you are in. All you have to do is just trust that that pillar is gonna stay firm, and you are gonna be under that whatever roof it's holding on to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Oh, that's actually really good. I never
really
thought about it like pillar. You know, he's not like just like a wisp of a
Good.
wise man right here.
No, just yeah.
Just loses all his credit.
Yeah.
You know the phrase "coming in clutch."
Yes.
Like the clutch players, like you have your LeBrons, Kobe's.
No,
Your Mo
LeBron is
Salahs.
not a clutch player.
Oh, he's about to go in a debate right now.
Somebody's gonna get pissed.
But because he is in control of the situation, and he's also with you, like your cause is the same. He's just capable of doing something miraculous at the last second to help you win the game, the situation.
Yeah.
And like in this case, that is what he's
God.
done.
Good,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Right.
good.
Like who would have thought he'd split a sea in
Yeah.
half and gone, go ahead.
Right through it.
So I think of that and just also parallels in my own life where I've just come through situations at the last second in the most unexpected ways and just think he was doing it then, he's still doing it now.
Yeah, amen.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
God is like the ultimate clutch player.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
That is good. Like, I mean, there are definitely been times where I'm like, oh, why isn't this happening to me? Or why is this happening to me? Why isn't it happening to me? Like, I just, stew on just all of that stuff, right? Then when I choose to remember the things that he's done in my life, I choose to like show gratitude. I choose like, okay, God, thank you for that one time when you came through for my family. Thank you for that one time that my dad did this. Thank you for that. It then just reminds me that I have a God who actually loves me so much and he has come through for my family. So I'm holding on to the promise that, hey, if you have come through for my family, you can come through for my family right now. So yeah, basically holding on to the fact that God is faithful and also the fact that he's present. Right, he's so present, and we heard in the previous series how like Satan isn't around. Like when we talk about Job, like how Satan left God's presence. So the fact that God is with us in everything that we do. I think that gives me the assurance that he's there for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if we spend time talking about like our Red Sea situations, we're gonna be like going down a rabbit hole and
This could go on and on and on
and on and on. And I think, I don't know, when you guys talk about like say a Red Sea situation, like what do you normally feel?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
I think like, of course, because you would just recall the bad memories that we
Yeah, yeah.
have at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then just looking at the present, I'm really grateful that the Lord just appears to me like in that last minute, like that split second, like
Yeah.
what Nathan mentioned, being a clutch
Yeah.
player,
Yeah.
who God is. Yeah, so yeah.
So I guess the question would be like, I guess it evokes all these different emotions,
Yeah.
like anxiety, whatever. How long does it take for you to get to the place of being like okay? Like, and what helps you get to the place of being okay?
I mean, I tend to not, if it's a situation that's come before, like I tend to not think about it in anything other than gratitude and relief. If it's something that's happening at the present moment, it's kind of like impatience.
Right.
'Cause I know at some point God's going to come through,
Yeah,
just waiting, and then I just get impatient.
And
And
I
that's
think,
that's where most of my ag comes from, is just impatience. Yeah.
That's good. I think also just the fact that like in the script, in that particular story also, they sort of the Lord asked them not to do anything and let Him do the rest.
Yeah.
In a way. So I feel like after those situations and circumstances that I had before, it is a good reminder for me as well that there are gonna be situations that is sort of like a Red Sea. Coming to like even though I don't want to, but it will come. But and just going back through that, it reminds me of that. I just need to stay and be still and wait on the Lord, because at some point the Lord is gonna do something great.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess with that being said, when I think about like all those times that God has come through, and I know like when it comes to with problems, I can lose myself, and I can have all these like different reactions, get angry, panic, and whatever, right? But I think sometimes it's so easy to get, again, lost in the chaos and get yourself carried away. But I think when you choose to ground yourself in the truth that God is with us, that we can trust God, that He is faithful, that He is in control, that He is powerful, that He is sovereign, knowing that because of this, there is always a way out.
Amen.
And I think, as we journey through that, as we, I guess, wrestle with that truth, sometimes it makes it easier to find ourselves out of that situation. And also, in a way, we have our blind spots too. And even when like our friends are going through that situation, we can speak into your life like, hey, by the way, have you remembered that time that God was with you? Or hey, do you remember, the time where He was faithful? And I think in a way we need each other to also bring us out as well.
Amen.
So,
for sure.
Because, for example, again, going back to the Israelites, everybody probably be panicking, right? Like, oh my goodness, the Egyptians are after us. But it took one man like Moses to be like, guys, like, it's all good, we got this, right? And so in a sense, like, that person's faith also like
contagious.
Also contagious.
Yeah.
Also shepherds that.
Yeah.
So do you want to, I guess, be contagious with your faith or be contagious with your fear?
Wow. Yeah.
And yes,
What a choice!
what a choice. But it's when you have faith, that's when you can find your way out of your situation. So there's always a way out.
Yeah.
Sometimes not easy, but always a way out with God in the picture. So yeah, wherever you are at, whatever Red Sea situation that you're facing, continue to believe that God is with you, that He's faithful, and that He is all powerful. He will see you through. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time in the grind.
Bye.
Bye.